suggestion for people that are employed in today's environment is that they need to really adopt what I would call an agile mindset, which effectively means that from a learning and development perspective, they're going to be open to exploring new avenues for learning and development to make sure that their knowledge base and their skill sets are current and that they remain relevant to the workplace, because things are happening so quickly, changes are occurring so frequently, and the landscape, particularly for disruption, is so much significantly more volatile than it would have been just a few years ago. So in countries like the Bahamas, we face volatility issues, not just because of a COVID-19 type of pandemic, but we have regular issues that relate to natural catastrophes. And that's not just an insurance issue, that's really a macroeconomic issue, because whether you're going to recover insurance proceeds or not, your way of living, your lifestyle, how you work, the infrastructure within the country, your relatives in terms of how you communicate with and liaise with them, and the kind of things that you do are going to all be the subject of change. So you really have to have an agile mindset, and I think that really is the sort of foundational key that will allow you to pivot in different directions, which is going to be a part of the landscape on an ongoing basis. So for me, the biggest leadership challenge that I think that was an issue that I had to confront, particularly during the lockdown period of the COVID-19 experience, was how do we connect with people at an emotional level, given the fact that we're not sort of interacting with them on a personal basis. And I think a lot of people underestimate the extent to which that emotional connection with people factors into your leadership. Leadership is not just about saying, please do this or do that, or you must do this. I think it's really more of an issue of impacting people, reaching them at an intellectual level, but also at an emotional level, because you want to trigger a certain type of enthusiastic response to what it is you're trying to get people to do, where you're trying to take them from a vision perspective, and where you're trying to get them to from a level of engagement. And having an emotional connection is very difficult on a remote basis. So I think I found that to be a significant challenge during the lockdown period. And as far as, competencies that we need to develop on a going forward basis, I think it's really a question of becoming used to having more regular disruptions and being able to adapt your leadership approach and style to factor in these changes that are occurring, so that you don't necessarily become less effective, but at the same time, your energies are directed in the right proportion to both connecting with people so the tasks are done, but also, bearing in mind that there's an emotional component to it. And you've got to find innovative ways in which to bridge that gap, particularly when you're in a scenario where you're not actually going to be in close proximity to people on an ongoing basis.
Sean Bevans, Nassau Airport Development Company. Employees must always be prepared for the unpredictable. The COVID-19 pandemic, I believe, provided us with a very unique opportunity to reinvent ourselves. I would suggest that employees look for developmental online courses. Many of them are free, or if not, they're generally very affordable, but they're a really great way to either improve your current skills or to enhance or gain new ones. The reality is, with the technological age and the way things are advancing, the role that you're in can very easily become obsolete. Or if you have not upgraded your skills, then your, ability to function in that role can become challenged because you haven't done anything to try and improve yourself. So I believe that for the most part, if you're not still suited for your role, you need to reinvent yourself. Ideally, I believe employees should take an inventory of their current skills. What is it that you do? Is there something that makes you very valuable to the organization that you're employed with? Is there something that if there is an issue or a problem or circumstance that somebody will call you because they know that you're the one that's able to assist with that? Outside of that, then you have to take a personal look and be honest with yourself. What are those areas that you think that you need to change, or that somebody would have said to you need to work on, or in your last evaluation that was an action item? Take a look at those areas, take note of them. Those are the ones that you need to improve on so that you can find courses that can benefit you professionally and personally. Another suggestion I would give would be to be versatile and flexible. The benefit of versatility is that you're always the one who is willing to accept something new, to welcome a new change, to accept if there is challenges or if there's something new that's going on. You should be the one who volunteers for the new project, who volunteers to be a part of any kind of change management or something new that's going on. Once an employer can determine that you are flexible, that you're adaptable, that you're versatile, then you're going to be the one that's more likely to stay when the dust settles. Okay. To ensure optimal employee engagement, I would suggest setting goals with clear deliverables that are easy to measure. Make sure that the employee understands fully what is required of them while they're at home, that there is no gray area, that you are there to offer support if they need it. Now, for some people, they may believe that that's micromanaging. But really, you just want to ensure that the employee understands exactly what it is that they're required to do, and they have the wherewithal to be able to complete the task at hand. If the results are something that need to be recorded or required daily or weekly, then monitoring the progress is very necessary. The other thing I would think about would be that at home there are many distractions. So it would mean that ensuring that there is the additional support, whether it's yourself or someone else on the team, that's important. Otherwise, I would encourage the employee to have a set area that they use to work with at home. So if you set one particular area that is considered your workspace, then that provides structure, and it'll give you a sense of perhaps that you are in a fixed location that is similar to when you are at work. So every day, if that's the location that you go and you would perform your duties, that will help you to remain focused on the work at hand, and you're able to perform the task that way. You're most likely to complete the task minus the distractions if you have that set formal area. It's also important to keep the lines of communication open. This means not just to communicate with your employee regarding work, but also find out, check in, ask questions about how the employee is coping, how they're doing, because this is a difficult time for everyone. It's something we really did not anticipate. So generally you want to find out from the employee if there's any anxiety or fear or challenges that they're dealing with, and you're able to offer support. As far as the work is concerned, then you also want to ensure that you have regular departmental meetings. If that was something that you were accustomed to in the past, then have those meetings still. Have them with WebEx or Zoom so that you can still stay in touch and be approachable, able to have that face-to-face, or if you want to choose to have the video off where you can at least stay in contact with your employee. Another good thing to try would be to ensure that if the employee has completed any courses or certifications, that you send out those congratulatory remarks, you send them out via email to the rest of the team, and that way it's an encouragement to the persons who have not completed those courses, but also to say that reinforcement that we're proud of you, we're still in touch, and we appreciate the effort that you put into reinventing yourself. To protect our customers, our stakeholders, a very extensive cleaning program was instituted to ensure that areas were completely cleaned and sanitized, all of those areas that our internal and external customers would frequently move through, or those frequently touched areas, that they are cleaned and sanitized. We also would have added plexiglass to areas where persons would come in contact with others, and then the spacing guidelines were put in place to ensure that everyone would have been protected in that way. Additionally, the general safety protocols for our team, like masks and gloves, and ensuring that they would have had all the proper PPE that they required, all of those things were done right at the onset. So we made sure that there were sanitizing or hand sanitizing stations that were in every office, a few feet down in the hallway, all of those things just to make sure that people at least felt that they could be able to sanitize regularly, and that persons who are coming in contact with them would have sanitized as well.
The strategies actually are not really determined by us, but we implement them. The medical professionals tell us that we are safe distance, we are to wear a mask, we are to wash our hands, and of course, one of the things we implement, of course, like everybody else, was remote and distance working. Of course, added to that might be, for example, persons in the office who are in excess of 60 years. They are more inclined to work from home. And so we have instituted that policy. And so those persons who fall into that category, and you can appreciate I'm not in that category because I'm to work every day. And so the other side of it is going forward, of course. Going forward is going to be unique to us. I say that because in the Caribbean and Latin America, for example, we're not like New York City. We are touchy-feely people. We hug people, we shake their hands, we give them a kiss on the cheek, etc., etc. And so we have to change that way of doing business. Although we are often inclined to see a cousin, a friend, a customer, a client, we're going to have to pull back. And so it's less of that, more remote working, the use of video conferencing again to make sure that business gets done. You don't have to come into the office. And of course, at the end of the day, you're still growing your business. In our organization, for example, juniors and seniors can stay home. The accountants can do that because we've always had laptops and they can do our work remotely for years. But to grow your business, for example, in our environment, people want to see your face. They want to still meet you before they commit to you. And so it's still part of the old, but a lot of the new. Out of every adversity, and this is quite a good question actually, out of every adversity comes opportunities. And so what I'd like to say to employees is grab a hold of the opportunities to improve yourself. One might ask, how do I improve myself? Well, first, you're going to become skillful in video conferencing, whether it's Zoom or Microsoft and all the other products out there. So you become skilled at that. You become skilled at presentation. You become skilled at responsiveness. For example, you're not down the hall anymore. You're home or you're somewhere that I can't see you, I can't reach you in an instant. So you have to be accountable for your time and responsive to the demands of the organization. This is always a challenge for all levels of persons in your organization. And I tell you what, many times people have their work desk right next to their bed. And so it is easy to get up and go and sit at your workstation. And because you don't have a 9-to-5 constraint, it is quite easy for you to work all day. If you're a dedicated employee, of course, you can work all day. And when you have run out of energy, the problem is that you go to the bed with your high energy, still with work on your mind. And so you can become a bit of a zombie. I would say to employees, split the time, separate yourself. Put your workstation on one side, perhaps even in a different room, and put your personal self on another side. And remember to tell your kids and your husband or wife that you are not there just for their leisure. You are actually there playing two roles, one as a family member and the other as a work team member. So split the roles, and I think you'll be just fine.
Well, for reinventing oneself, I think you must sit and decide where you want to go, or COVID might have pushed you put you in a particular predicament. But I would encourage anybody. There are online courses. Perhaps you wanted to go and do some cooking or specializing in a particular area. I believe this is the pertinent time to do that, because you have so much time on your hands, and there are so many free online courses, self-development courses, and you must look at developing yourself. You have individuals who say, well, the government ain't doing this for me, the government ain't doing that for me, my employer isn't doing this for me, my employer isn't doing that for me. And for so many of us, the employer may have become cash strapped. So it's incumbent upon the employee, or you may want to see yourself as an entrepreneur. This is the time to self-develop. And I would encourage anybody to go online. There are so many interesting courses that one can take that you can use to improve yourself at this time. Many of us will have to reinvent ourselves, and this is an opportune time for that. Well, for many of us in the midst of COVID, we've been hearing about COVID, and then COVID came upon us. Should I say quickly? Or anyway, for many of us, we had to quickly move into Plan B for 2020, because coming into 2020, of course, we had our strategic plans, our strategic initiatives, so many things as a corporation that we had envisioned. But COVID put all of that, went out of the window, and we had to go to Plan B. And the good thing about it is that at BAIC, we have a good team, and because of what we do, many of our staff were considered essential. And for those individuals who had to be sidelined, we then had to move to other staff members to assist perhaps in an area they were not as familiar with. But we found that working together, we had to delegate. And delegating has gone a long way in assisting us in meeting our goals and meeting our commitments. And everybody just came together. And I believe as a leader, in times like these, as you reset the sail, you must be able to delegate, and you should know your team members who may be better suited to complete a task as opposed to, let's say, somebody who had to be sidelined. Delegation was key.
Well, again, it's good to be connecting with my HR colleagues and, of course, the wider audiences. Oh boy, that word challenges. That is a buzzword amidst this entire COVID-19 pandemic. But my personal conviction is this, that crises are oftentimes opportunities in disguise. And this crisis, to me, is nothing more than an opportunity for companies and for employees to reinvent themselves. So during crisis, survivalists know the importance of two key traits. First of all, survivalists know the importance of preparedness and also the importance of resilience. And though the present crisis has intensified the survivalist mode, with a spotlight on things such as furloughs and re-entrenchment and public health. Harnessed well, this pandemic can spur a welcome departure from business as it exists as usual. So, to answer the question, there were 3 specific suggestions. First of all, when it comes to reinventing oneself as an employee, you've got to embrace the new digital reality. This matters because digitalization transforms how organizations leverage talent, how we help to build things such as diverse workforces, improve teams, analyze performance, and vitally in today's context, embrace flexible working approaches. Therefore, digital technical competencies are, in my view, non-negotiables. Now, there were some studies that show a disconnect between a larger percentage of employees who say and who think perhaps that they are ready to reskill. And inversely, on the other end, executives, on the other hand, believe that a smaller percentage of their current workforce cannot adopt as easily as they would like. So we have 2 opposing views, and sometimes the views are on 2 opposing ends of the spectrum. So the way that the average executive thinks presents a mental block, and removing this mental block is vital to employers and employees weathering the current and the future storms in this post-COVID environment. And then secondly, reinventing oneself as an employee is critical through flexible working. So flexible working is crucial, and it is a very critical component. Companies are systematically assessing jobs for their adaptability. In other words, they're making flexibility dependent on the job rather than a person's circumstances. Employees are job focused. Employees, on the other hand, who are largely looking at their circumstances and they're focused on their circumstances, must take an inventory of their individual circumstances and match them against job expectations, and then determine their capacity and willingness to be flexible and adaptable to meeting and exceeding organizational demands. Therefore, employees must make honest determinations about their working conditions and the conditions that suit them best. This would help employees to maintain a good work-life balance that sends honest communications to employees and can help both the employee and the employer improve the productivity and efficiency of the business. Today, we find ourselves in the environment where, unfortunately, employees are being forced to make the decision between profits and people. And as harsh as it might sound, employees don't hire you as an employee to make you rich. Employees hire you to make them rich. And if you do not understand that it should be an agenda that's not compete, you'll find that the competing agendas always compete. And in the end, the business agenda oftentimes wins. It's important, therefore, not to compromise personal core values, but consider how flexible you are as an employee in consolidating these core values, aligning them with organizational demands in light of the emerging circumstances. And the third thing, when it comes again to these new skills, how do you reinvent yourself? That word agility. Agility in response to external shocks or stimulus is perhaps the third pillar of preparedness and reinventing oneself. The only guarantee we have in life and in business is really no guarantee at all. We just don't know what the next move is going to be as it relates now to existing in a COVID environment in our workforce. And oftentimes we speak about things such as being more agile, having fluid teams, and workers with broad skill sets are most important to companies. So therefore, reskilling in this environment is crucial and extremely critical. So reskilling and an adaptable mindset are often the practical lens through which we can get a read on agility. Get more tools in your toolbox. But the toolbox should reflect predictable industry demands. So choose diversification over specialization. In other words, don't build for where you are, but build for where you are going. 3 words: discipline, discipline, discipline. Discipline is the name of the game. In this new culture where persons are embracing the whole idea of working remotely. So here are some suggestions. First of all, employees should create a schedule. Create a schedule and be consistent. Practice does not make it perfect. Practice makes it permanent. If they practice being slack or practice not being engaged, when they return to their normal work environment, they're going to bring the same culture back into your organization. Employees should create a schedule and be consistent. Secondly, journal. Journal your day and keep a scorecard. At the end of every day, every single member of our team working remotely should be able to answer this question: did you win or did you lose? Were your tasks aligned to your organizational goals? Did you, after the end of this day, move the needle further? Did your actions contribute towards your organization winning or losing? And then a third suggestion, employees should carve out time for mental breaks for themselves and also for others. The stress and the demands of COVID and the uncertainties that it presents could place incredible mental demands on the average employee and also those who work in the environment, the children who are seeing them work from home, maybe spouses and extended family members. Take time for mental breaks. If you don't come apart, you'll come apart. And then the fourth suggestion when it comes to working from home, see yourself as a champion of change versus a casualty to change. Are you a champion? You can't control what's going on, or you are a casualty. Are you going to win or are you going to lose? Oftentimes, your outlook determines your outcome. The fifth suggestion is act and look the part. Act the part, look the part, get dressed up, shower, groom yourselves as an employee. Carve out a personal space. That's your sacred space. That space that'll get your creative juices flowing. Carve out your work environment. Act the part. Act like a professional in your work environment and look the part, because oftentimes what we wear and where we work influences how we work. And then the last suggestion in this work from home culture is connect with your expanded work community. Choose integration versus isolation. Network. Explore industry best practices. Connect with others, and there are tons of others out there offering free courses, offering free seminars and webinars. Sharpen again your networking skills. Embrace opportunities again to add more tools to your toolbox. I do that consistently. I'm always looking for other industry professionals who would help me to sharpen again my professional competencies. Listen, in order for you to be successful in working at home, remember, discipline is the name of the game.
we have to be creative and innovative to survive these types of times. I remember President Obama once said, the longer the graduation line, the shorter the unemployment line. And I think that people can take the time off from work now to in some way try and enhance their skill sets by perhaps doing online courses. And there are many of those available online. For example, Coursera has a number of courses that are available totally free of charge that people can utilize to increase their skill sets. I think that this is also the time when entrepreneurial spirits need to be invigorated, so to speak. Unfortunately, only about 5% of the population are entrepreneurs. But an entrepreneur is a person who takes advantage of whatever situation presents itself. If he sees that there is something that he can produce or a process he can do more efficiently than is presently being done right now, and he can monetize that process, then now is the time to do that.
Absolutely.
You hear stories of especially school teachers who unfortunately are not really paid what they should be paid. And many of them now, I've heard stories are taking to baking and cooking and providing meals on wheels for people, and actually making far more money doing that than they were from making their normal salaries as a teacher. I think that also it's important to just reflect on the fact that everybody's income has taken a beating, and we now need to look at how we can become more efficient and make the best use of the monies that we have available. So, for example, whereas in the past, many people would not prepare meals at home to take to work for breakfast and even for lunch. And there's some people that actually buy fast food for supper. But there's nothing to stop you from preparing your own meals at home. And I'm sure that if you were to do this, you could save at least $15 a day, which is what, $60 or $75 a week, which is $300 a month.
Yeah.
And that's a significant savings. Some of the other things that we can consider is the carpooling, so that you don't have to spend as much money on gas. Even though the cost of gas has come down recently, people still spend a significant amount of money on gas. But you can tell that money's tight in the economy, because when people pull up at the gas station and they're only spending, $5 on gas, that things are tight.
Yeah.
And it's a very common finding now. So carpooling, I think, would help. I think that a lot of people have credit cards, and unfortunately they misuse the credit cards, and they should try and switch to debit cards and only spend monies that they have in the bank and not spend monies that they don't have.
Yeah.
So if they do have credit cards, I think it's important to try and pay off that credit card debt as quickly as is feasible, because as you know, the interest rates on those late payments are very high, in excess of 18%, and that can run up on you in a hurry. Well, I think the first thing is knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have to define your own, determine your own destiny.
It really is the incredible level of uncertainty that it has brought to the entire community and just a plethora of communities But the reality is, for everyone, we are going through a time that, for the most part, to the best of my knowledge, most have not had to manage before. And one of the things that strengthens you as a leader is you have seen a number of similar challenges to the ones you typically have in front of you, and that gives you a great deal of confidence. In this instance, there's not a whole lot of reference points. And so really the skill that you have to master is really do as much as you can to mitigate the uncertainty. And so what we did is we tried our best to find as similar situations that have happened in the past as we could. Armed with that information, we projected to the best of our ability what we thought would be the most likely outcome as we looked into the future. And with that information, we did what we always have to do. We have to make a decision. And, we're guided by our principles, the health and safety of our people, the people that we have the privilege to serve as our customers, our communities. Those were always our priority, and they continue to be our priority, and they've guided what we've done. Being able to provide a level of certainty to those who will be on our team and who continue to be on our team is also a high priority. So we really had to make our best projection of what we thought the future is going to look like, and then make specific decisions based on that information. I think everybody did that to a certain extent. We tried to be as technical as we could, and hopefully we're serving our customers as well as they need to be in these very, very dynamic times. We certainly want to make sure that by doing what we've done, we're doing the best for our employees and our team members. And, we continue to manage this like everybody else. So I hope that's been helpful. The health and safety of people is our number one priority, always has been. In an industry like ours where, a mistake with people can truly cost lives, that is a higher priority than most can imagine for us. And so we actually had moved our team members home well ahead of it being mandated by local authorities. And so we recognized that that was going to be a mitigating factor before many others did. And so by the time it was mandated and required, many of our team members had already been home for a few weeks. We continue to see that as a key tool for keeping our people safe and for keeping our team members safe. And so we continue to utilize that. We're looking, and we have developed a plan to return to work. At this point, we have not returned any of our non-essential employees back to the traditional workplace. All of our team members, fortunately, have continued with us, and they've continued to work from where from their homes, and done it very effectively and very efficiently. There are advantages to being able to be in co-located together, and we'll leverage those advantages as we see it safe to do so. At this point, we're we've put together a plan which has a significantly lower density in the office than we had previously. We also have a rotation so that not everyone will be who's non-essential, who hasn't been essential to be in the office or the traditional workplace during this period. As those persons return to work, they will do so on 2-week rotation. We long to get back together with our team members. We want to do it safely. We want to make sure that we can do as much as we can to mitigate our contribution to the spread of this concerning disease in the communities we serve.